The Johnson family had always loved animals, so when they found a scrawny, black and white cat wandering around their backyard, they knew they had to take it in. They named her Mittens and quickly fell in love with her. Mittens was a bit skittish at first, but she soon warmed up to her new family and began to follow them everywhere they went. However, as time passed, the Johnsons started to notice strange changes in Mittens' behavior. She would stare at them for long periods of time, her eyes unblinking, as if she was studying them. And then, one day, something horrifying happened. The Johnsons' daughter, Lily, woke up in the middle of the night, screaming in terror. Her parents rushed to her room and found her thrashing around in her bed, her face covered by a writhing mass of black and white fur. It was Mittens, but she was no longer the sweet, affectionate cat they had taken in. She had somehow fused herself to Lily's face, her sharp claws digging into her flesh. The Johnsons tried to pull Mittens off, but it was no use. The cat had become a part of Lily, her fur and flesh merging together in a grotesque, living nightmare. Mittens had somehow taken control of Lily's body, and she was using it to move and hunt for prey. As the days went by, the Johnsons watched in horror as Mittens' Lily prowled around the house, her eyes gleaming with a feral intelligence. They could hear her snarling and growling at night, and they knew that something terrible was happening to their daughter. They tried everything they could think of to separate the cat from Lily's face, but it was no use. Mittens had become a part of her, and there was no going back. The Johnsons were trapped in their own home, their daughter a prisoner of the monstrous cat that had taken over her body. Finally, in a moment of desperation, the Johnsons decided to try and kill the cat. But as they approached Lily's bed with a knife, they were met with a terrifying sight. Mittens' Lily had grown to a massive size, her claws and teeth razor sharp. She hissed and lunged at them, and they knew that they were no match for her. In the end, the Johnsons were forced to flee their own home, leaving their daughter behind with the monstrous cat that had fused itself to her face. They never saw Lily again, and they never spoke of Mittens, the cat that had become something far more terrifying than anyone could have ever imagined. Years later, 5 boys, best friends since childhood, had heard the rumors about the abandoned house where Lily and her monstrous feline companion had been living. They were curious and a little bit scared, but they convinced themselves that it was just a silly urban legend. So, they made a plan to sneak into the house and explore it for themselves. As they entered the house, they felt a chill run down their spines. The place was dark and foreboding, and it was clear that no one had lived there in a long time. They walked through the empty rooms, their flashlights casting long shadows on the peeling walls. But as they turned a corner, they heard a low growl coming from the shadows. They froze, their hearts pounding in their chests. And then they saw her, Mittens' Lily, her fur matted and filthy, her eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. She was crouched in a corner, her body tense and ready to pounce. The boys tried to run, but it was too late. Mittens' Lily was too fast, too strong. One by one, she hunted them down, tearing them apart with her razor-sharp claws and teeth. The boys screamed and begged for mercy, but there was none to be found in the dark, haunted halls of the abandoned house. By the time the sun rose the next morning, all 5 boys were dead. The police arrived on the scene, but they couldn't explain what had happened. The bodies were torn to shreds, the house was empty and silent, and there was no sign of Mittens' Lily. Some say that the ghost of Lily still haunts the house, her face fused with that of the monstrous cat. Others say that Mittens' Lily is still out there, waiting for her next victims to come too close. But one thing is certain, the boys who ventured into the abandoned house will never be forgotten, their deaths a grim reminder of the dangers that lurk in the shadows.